Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday once again. We are at November the 2nd, 2021. And I know there's a big ball game coming up tonight, so we're going to try to keep it a little bit short. Some of you guys who are watching maybe other parts of the world don't know, but the World Series is going on. The Atlanta Braves, who are the closest major league team to us right now, are playing the Houston Astros, and they're in Houston at Game 6 tonight. So I think that starts at 8:10. So I'm going to try to finish up by 8:10 tonight. But thank you guys for joining in to Travel Talk Tuesday. Tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. The first off is I'm going to share with you a recipe about polpette, or Italian meatballs, that I prepared. And then we're going to talk about the island of Ischia, which I was on about a week and a half ago down in the Bay of Naples. But before we get to that, let me share my screen and show a little bit, a little humorous thing that my pastor shared with me by way of tagging me on Facebook a few weeks ago. Let me pause it here. So he thought this was hilarious, that this is a map of every European city. And it's done by this guy. It's called Itchy Feet. And the guy's name is Malachi Ray Rempen. I'll show you the website in just a minute, but look at it. And if you've been to Europe with me, or you've been to Europe, you know this is true. There's always a river running through the middle of town. There's always a big cathedral, postcardy old town with a tourist trapped cathedral around it. There is always a central train station loaded with pigeons, they say. There's a World War II Memorial Avenue. For example, if you're in Italy, you're going to have Via Garibaldi or Via Victoria Emmanuel II. So that's what all that has to do with the emancipation of a country, or World War II, something to do with World War II. For example, if you're in London, you're walking down Whitehall, and that entire street leading up to Trafalgar Square has a lot to do with World War II and soldiers and unknown soldiers and everything else. Then there's a whole lot of shops, cafes, a little old bridge that everybody loves. For example, if you're in Florence, the Ponte Vecchio, and then the new bridge that no one really cares about at all and hates it. For example, if you're in London, London Bridge has been rebuilt 3 times or so. Nobody likes London Bridge. It's not even what we think London Bridge is. And then across the river in the dirty part of town is the drug dealer park. Your hotel is 5 miles away. That's not true with my Exploring Europe tours. But if you're backpacking through Europe, maybe your hostel or your one-star hotel is that far away. Then this whole area of town that is becoming gentrified, and many people are moving in there, and clubs are moving in, bars are moving in there. I think about, for example, in Dublin, right across the River Liffey, there's the Temple Bar area, which used to be 30 years ago derelict and was the old Docklands. Now it is the place to go and be seen. And you can just see all of that. So that's kind of cool. This guy, I've started following him because he has a cartoon every day. Let me let it play till you see his website. But it's kind of crazy. It's Itchy Feet, and you have an opportunity to get a cartoon every day that has something to do with visiting Europe. So I'm running. It'll come up here in just a second for his website, Itchy Feet, and itchyfeetcomic.com. So take a look at that. Subscribe. It'll give you a chuckle every day at least. Okay, now to our recipe for tonight. I told you it's polpette. Tonight's recipe is inspired by my last meal in Rome at Cantina e Cucina about a week ago. Had fried artichokes to start with, were fantastic, and followed up with focaccia bread. And then for that, we had polpette, or meatballs. I had some meatballs covered in tomato sauce and meatballs covered in cheese sauce, both served with roast potatoes and spinach. My other partners who were dining with me had a cacio e pepe and amatriciana, which are two typical dishes of Rome. We ended it with a glass of Amaro. Here's my journal where I record my recipes, and I've got many recipes for meatballs. Hey, David McGuffin here. Welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday, and my recipe this week, we're making Italian meatballs. In Italy, they're known as polpette. Very simple to do, so I hope you enjoy this little cooking recipe. The ingredients here are pretty simple. I've got some ground beef here, about 2 pounds of ground beef. And I've got some Italian sausage, seasoned Italian sausage. You could either use hot and spicy or the sweet Italian sausage. The last part of the protein I have here is pancetta, or in Italy, they usually use what's called guanciale, which is pork cheek. But we don't have pork cheek here, guanciale, so we're going to use a little pancetta. And that's about 4 ounces of pancetta. You can also see I have a mixture of about 9 ounces of Italian cheese, a little bit of pecorino, a little bit of mixture of Italian cheeses here that I bought in a package
Parmigiano and mozzarella.
And a little bit of mozzarella cheese. I've got any kind of bread that I'm going to use is going to be used to bind the ingredients together. I'll cut off the crust, some Italian parsley, some garlic, 1 egg yolk, some buttermilk, salt, and pepper. All of these ingredients combined together into a bowl, mix it together, and I'll show you how I do that. Basically, I'm just pulling the leaves off of the parsley, getting the stems out of there, and then I'm going to give it a rough chop. Let me go ahead and do the garlic while I'm at it. Once I've chopped it, I just take the backside of the knife and press it down. That gives it a little mince. That way you don't have to worry so much about a mincer. Got to get this pretty small here because I want to get a little bit of that garlic in all of the meat. While I'm at it, let me go ahead and cut the crust off this bread. And I'm just going to tear that by hand into little pieces. The bread is just kind of a binding agent and also gives a little different texture. I'm a firm believer in different textures because we've got the ground beef, we've got the ground pork with spices in it, we got the guanciale or the pancetta, bread, and then the cheese has a little bit more texture, but it'll definitely melt when it begins to cook. And then the binding agents are simply an egg yolk, the buttermilk, and boy, that's about it. Maybe a little oil, and then salt and pepper. So a pretty easy recipe here. Okay, that's that. Okay, so I've got 2 pounds of ground beef going into my mixing bowl. And I have this 1 pound of Italian sausage. Let me chop this guanciale or the pancetta up a little bit more because I want a little bit of that to go in every meatball. Okay, so the guanciale goes in there as well. I'm just going to take that, and then I've got some buttermilk I'm going to add to it. The buttermilk, it's about 6 ounces of buttermilk. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and see what I need. Garlic goes in next. Breadcrumbs. One egg yolk.
egg yolk.
You can see I'm not a chef.
And the parsley. Okay, all the ingredients are in my pot. Basically, I'm just going to take my hand and mix everything together, working from the bottom and pulling it up until it forms a uniform consistency. The buttermilk really helps the meat become a little more pliable. Plus, another thing you might want to consider doing is if you bring your meat out of the refrigerator about an hour before you're going to use it, so it's not ice cold, that will also help. So as you can see, I'm just folding from the bottom up, eyeballing it to make sure that I've got everything mixed pretty thoroughly. And of course, any recipe will do. This is just what I found. I have a recipe book that I write, a journal that I write notes in, and I bet I have over the years, 5 or 6 different recipes for polpette or meatballs. I'm gonna put a little salt and pepper on it. Here's some kosher salt. Just some plain old ground black pepper. One last turn to get all that incorporated. And that's what it looks like. Then I'll just start forming some meatballs. I like my meatballs to be a little on the large size. So just about enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Maybe that might be a tad bit too big to fit in your palm of your hand, about like this. We're gonna eat some of these meatballs tonight, but we're also going to, there's plenty of them here for me to put in the fridge, in the freezer, to save for other occasions. So you can see just about this size meatballs. So let me get the rest of them done. Okay, there we have it. The meatballs are finished. There's probably about 16 or so in here. And so that's gonna be our polpette. It'll be covered with tomato sauce. And we're gonna serve this tonight with some roasted potatoes, fresh asparagus, and some spinach. I typically cook them in the frying pan on the stove top. And then add the sauce to it.
Okay, so that turns out pretty good. It's a tried and true recipe, and it's great. You know, at home we like to have. We always hear about spaghetti and meatballs, but in Italy there's never any spaghetti pasta served with meatballs. And on the last trip, I even had somebody try to order spaghetti with meatballs, and they got their meatballs first, or they got their spaghetti first, with tomato sauce, pomodoro sauce on it. And then for the second course, they got their meatballs. So it's just a mindset. And, you know, Italian Americans immigrated over here, you know, 150 years ago to 100 years ago. And they took their recipes and adapted it to what you could find here in the United States. And then restaurants began opening, and they adapted their menus to what would sell. So that's why we have spaghetti and meatballs here at home, but you would never hear of that in Italy. Real quickly, I'm sharing what the little appetizers and antipasti they were having right now. I've got a couple of cheeses and some salami. They're all pecorino cheese, so sheep milk cheese. I got some brie from France and some salami here as well. And then I have, I'm not even tonight, I'm changing up. I'm not drinking Italian wine. This wine is called Decoy from Sonoma County in California. It's a step down from the Big Brother winery Duckhorn, but Decoy makes some really good wine. This is Merlot that we're looking at, but they also have just red wine, Cabernet. They also have a white wine Chardonnay as well. Very affordable, less than $20 a bottle. Euro. I am still pretending like I'm in Italy. Less than $20 a bottle, so a good value for that. And so now with that said, let me move on to visiting the island of Ischia.
Hey, David McGuffin here. I am on the island of Ischia. Listen, I surely hope you stick with me tonight on Travel Talk Tuesday as we look around this wonderful island located in the Bay of Naples, just off the coast, about less than an hour off the coast of the city of Naples down here in southern Italy. Hey, your adventure starts right here from the island of Ischia. Hope you enjoy the show tonight.
So in the big scheme of things, Ischia is down near Naples. And you can see Naples here is a big city, an hour and a half from Rome. And Ischia is this huge island to the north in the Bay of Naples. I'm always a stickler for maps. There's 6 major regions. There's 3 ports, one here, one here, one here. We happen to come into the port of Cassamiccola, and but that's one of the towns. We have Lacco Ameno is another town. Forio is another town. San Angelo, which you can't, is right down here in this area. Barano, and then the town of Ischia. And you can see they're all centered around this huge mountain here, Mount Epinoro. And that dominates the skyline anywhere you are on the island, so you can always look up and tell where you are. Let me move on. So as I told you, when we came up from Naples, we rode a boat over. Here I am at the Naples train station.
Hey, David McGuffin here. We have arrived in Naples Centrale, the train station down here, starting a brand new adventure, investigating some new places, new destinations for our tours. We're off to the island of Ischia and Procida in the Bay of Naples. So I hope you enjoy this look around the whole place. Let's go find our ride across to the island of Ischia.
So we were on a huge boat. It's kind of like got airplane seating. There's probably room for 400 people on it. There was less than 100, so plenty of seats. This is a little bit of the video out the window of this boat. Very calm seas that day, no worries on anything as far as rough waters or whatnot. This is actually the mainland of Italy looking kind of to the north. I'm looking out of the front of the boat. It does look a little bit rocky, doesn't it? But we're coming into the port, so it's not going very fast at all. And this is the island of Ischia. You can see right away that there are palm trees and lush green vegetation all over the place, which is, gosh, totally different than some of the other islands we visited, especially if you've been to Greece with me. You don't see that lush green vegetation anywhere. This is that mountain that sticks up. You can see it there in the top. It's called Mount Epomeo. You know, it really stinks because I've only been there once, and I'm learning all the names of the towns and everything else.
Island resort of Ischia, and I'm looking from my balcony down into the garden. There's several hot springs here and several swimming pools. And so we spent a couple of hours here. We've had a small little snack of bruschetta and some water and wine, and just kind of get acclimated to the island. But it's very, very tropical, I would say, which is kind of odd for being Italy, because you don't see this many pine trees and this much green anywhere else. But we're from the peanut gallery over here, Charlotte is correcting my pronunciation of the bread and tomatoes on it. Now, what did I say? Bruschetta?
You said bruschetta.
Okay. And Charlotte, how do you say it? Say it out loud.
Bruschetta.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Way down the Bay of Naples on the north end and the island of Ischia. Mascherina is on. We're on the bus. You can see I'm wearing a mask. Riding around this island of Ischia. On public transportation, that was compulsory. And search for the best pizzeria on the island. We had to show our CDC card, they call it a green pass, when we went inside museums and restaurants. And then we could immediately peel off our mask. Well, this is definitely the pedestrian center. So we went to this first village of Forio in the first night. Our local guide there said the best pizza in town, so we were in search for that. This is freshly painted. You can see this town's pedestrian only. We rode the city bus there as you saw me with the mask on. But it was very easy to get to, 20 minutes from our hotel way up on the top of the mountain. So this is looking to the west. Hey, David McGuffin, still on the Isle of Ischia, but I'm in the town of Forio. We're basically looking back to the west. As you can see, the sun setting back here. It's about 6:30, a little after 6:30 on an October day. A little chilly, but what great vistas we have here. So we've got everything from the Mediterranean Sea back to the west, and then panning back all the way to the east, the mountains of the island of Ischia. And the town here, my first time ever here, but it has got a lot of possibilities. So we did get pizza that night. Okay, here back on the island of Ischia, I'm in the town of Lacco Ameno, which is just down from the port, maybe a 15-minute walk or so. And so I'm looking out here to the Mediterranean Sea. This mushroom-shaped rock is a huge landmark here. Let me show you around a little bit here behind me. About the town center is pedestrian here along the harbor. And it's about almost 7 o'clock at night, so restaurants really aren't open at the moment. It does look like we haven't been down here in the daytime, but a little beach down here and a boardwalk waterfront area with some shops along the way. So we're gonna discover the town of Lacco Ameno. Just kind of taking in some of the shops. They're pretty nice here. The friends that I was with have a grandbaby expected in a few months. And there were a couple little shops for kids there that they laid down quite a few euro in to bring back home to the new grandbaby. Looks like very, very nice shops. This was an upscale town. Nice little and this is the main square. And park here. spinning around. Bancomat. Moon coming up over the mountains.
And I wish I would have taken more photos, but we ate at this restaurant here, which was a really gourmet experience at the Ristorante Pignonello, the Pine Tree restaurant, basically. And we had a great filet steak, some sauteed chicken and mushrooms. And so it was really good. And it happened to be on a Tuesday. And I was uploading a Travel Talk Tuesday that day from that restaurant by way of my phone. So I was more concerned about getting Travel Talk Tuesday uploaded as opposed to taking photos of this place. But it's definitely somewhere that you want to go to if you visit the town of Lacco Ameno. A great gourmet restaurant, fine white tablecloth service, really good attention, and not very expensive at all considering what you got. So this is looking from a mountaintop over Forio. And let me just stop it here because I'm gonna back it up because it's important to. The town where we were the previous night was in this area down here. So I'm on a mountain. That's where we had the dinner and everything with the pizza and all of that stuff. So this is overlooking the bay and the harbor, and our hotel is coming up. Our hotel is just here, this yellow hotel. Right beyond this yellow hotel, Hotel Tritone or Triton. And you can see it has a beach, swimming pool, a spa, wonderful beach views and everything. And that's the hotel we're going to use for our tour that I'm calling the Amalfi Islands tour. This is the private beach for Hotel Tritone and the pool that is up there overlooking that. And private gardens, olive groves, and everything as well. So really nice hotel. Situated in the town of Forio. This is Hotel La Pergola. We also looked at this, and this is up in the hills a ways, near thermal springs, but the views are fantastic from this as well. This is an indoor hot bath, thermal bath. And the views across Lacco Ameno. This is a thermal bath as well, free flowing. And even in October, people are swimming. So the fourth day we were there, we took a tour with a private guide around the island. And the first place we visited was this castle on the far coast. You can't quite hear him. This is our guide speaking. But this is a medieval fortress and castle. Every Roman emperor came here and had a vacation home, hence aqueducts and ruins from Roman times all over the place, as is all over the Bay of Naples. There's an aqueduct the Romans built. This is on the far side of the island. Near Barano, looking from Barano to San Angelo. San Angelo is the hill in the middle, the island in the middle of the bay here. These are some guys we saw selling fruit up there. And this is the town of San Angelo, which apparently...
Hey, we're still on the island of Ischia. This is the little town of San Angelo. So we've come down the harbor, way up the hill here, almost 1,200 feet above or so, is an overlook to this town of San Angelo. So pretty cool, pretty nice looking little town.
Apparently every tourist on the island, most of them were Germans,
Right against the mountain, I don't know.
came to this town, or come to this town every day.
It's just a geological feature.
I'm gonna pause it just a second.
So this is
Because we were, everywhere we went on this, I was in Italy for 6 weeks. And regardless of where we were, whether it was in Rome, Milan, Venice, or even down here in Naples or whatnot, we were always known as the sole Americans wherever we were. So at any hotel, the Americans. You know, there was 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, however many I had in my groups. And so at this particular place, a lot of Germans come here for vacation, and a lot of German tour companies set up travels for them to Germans to come down, because German doctors, from what I understand, write a prescription for to go to the healing waters for therapy 2 weeks a year. And so the Germans can get a free trip if they go to a spa, whether it be in the Black Forest or Baden-Baden in Germany, or whether they go to Ischia and soak in the healing waters. And so there was tons of Germans, and they, not only do they want to soak in the waters, but they want to get out with their little sticks, 2 sticks, and they go hiking all over the place. And many of them hiked to the top of that mountain, 2,500 feet, and spent the day doing that. So they need to soak in the waters, I would imagine. I didn't get to do that, but hiked to the top of that mountain. But there was a lot of Germans here, and so that's what we hear when we're the languages I'm listening for. Not much English, American.
little harbor of San Angelo. There must be quite a draw, because every tourist on the island appears to be coming here today, which may look like quite a bit of people right now, but in the big scheme of things, it's not even the big tourist season. I would imagine there's probably 200 people around here. Behind me, some cafes in the shade. Then of course, looking over to that little hilltop feature mountain, and the little white village over there. I guess that's the draw to San Angelo, just a cute little place to come here and spend a few minutes. There's quite a few high-end shops here along the way, and as you can see, little restaurants, cafes, a beach maybe in the summertime. You can hear the winds blowing pretty heavily here. One more look from up above on our drive back to your Hey, David McGuffin here. I am on the island of Ischia in the Bay of Naples. Just finished up 4 days exploring this island and nearby Procida to add to my itinerary of trips that we offer. And so we've got a brand new itinerary coming up for next year, and I'm calling it the Amalfi Coast and the Islands. We'd love to have you travel with us. Check it out at davidmcguffin.com. That's davidmcguffin.com. We'd love to show you around the Amalfi Coast, this island of Ischia, and nearby Procida. Hey, your adventure starts right here with David McGuffin's Exploring Europe.
And we leave the island and we head to Sorrento. This is a huge car ferry that we got on. This is not the car ferry. This is the boat next to us, which is a lot smaller. But we're pulling out of the harbor here in Ischia Town, heading back to Naples. Look how clear and blue that water is. Pulling up the anchor. Okay, that kind of wraps up Travel Talk Tuesday for tonight. I promised you we'd finish by 8:10, and it's almost 8:10. So next week, we're dealing with going to Naples and Sorrento. Hope you'll join us, and go Braves. Beat those dang Astros. Okay, ciao. See you later.